Hello, my dear students. Welcome to the 8th standard English class. In this class, we will continue with the chapter The Best Christmas Present in the World. I hope you remembered the characters of the chapter and the content that we have studied in the story that we have gone through in the previous two sessions of this chapter. In the last session, we have seen that Jim MacPherson, Hans Wolf, and I must say, soldiers from the both enemy nations, they came together on no man's land. They share food, drinks, they talk with each other, they even introduced to each other and discussed what they were before coming to the war or the war grounds. They made friendship with each other. Jim MacPherson even shared a cake, that is, the marzipan cake that was made by his wife, Connie. And Jim stated in his letter to his wife that the Christmas that he was celebrating there with the soldiers was the best Christmas he had ever been experienced. Okay, my dear students, now in this class, let us continue the story further ahead. Then someone, I don't know who, brought out a football. Greatcoats were dumped in piles to make goalposts, and the next thing we knew, it was Tommy against Fritz. Out in the middle of the no man's land, Hanswolf and I looked on and cheered, clapping our hands and stamping our feet to keep out the cold as much as anything. So, here, after a food and drinks, both the soldiers were formed in a group and just having fun. Then, someone from the group of the soldiers bought a football. The next thing which they saw was the match between Fritz versus Tommys, which is Germans versus British soldiers. To make the goal post, they dumped their greatcoats in piles. Here, the word piles means to put one thing on top of other. So they put the great coats on the one on the top of the others to make the goal post. And both the officers, Hanswolf and the Jim, looked and cheered by clapping hands and stamping their feet on ground. Another reason they are cheering like this was to keep their body warm in that cold weather. There was a moment when I noticed our breaths mingling in the air between us. He saw it too and smiled. Jim MacPherson, he said after a while, I think this is how we should resolve this war, a football match. No one dies in a football match, no children are orphaned, no wives became widows. So Jim MacPherson noticed that they were standing so close to each other that their breath were mingling. Here the word mingling means mixing, right? So mingling in the air or mixing in the air. And Hans Wolf suddenly says, this is how we should resolve the war. He tells him football match is a perfect way to resolve any conflict between the two nations because a football match never causes a death. It does not make a children orphaned. No wives became widow, and therefore it is a best way to resolve any conflict because it does not cause any death or destructions. I would prefer cricket, I told him. Then we Tommies could be sure of winning probably. We laughed at that and together we watched the game. So here Jim says, instead of football, I would choose cricket. Here the reason Jim is choosing cricket is because the cricket was originated and started by the English people. So obviously they will be the good in that game. So sure they will win that game. For this Jim's joke, both the Hanswolf and Jim laughed together and they continued watching the game. Sad to say, Connie, Fritz won 2 goals to 1, but as Hans Wolf generously said, our goal was wider than theirs, so it wasn't quite fair. Here, Jim says it is sad to say that German soldiers won the match and British soldiers loses. The score was 2 goals to 1. That means Germans scored 2 goals, British scored 1 goal. But Hans Wolf generously said, here generously means kindly. So Hansel generously said that the British soldiers' goals was wider, so it wasn't fair, even after winning the match. The time came, and all too soon, when the game was finished. The schnapps and the rum and the sausage had long since run out, and we knew it was all over. I wished Hans well and told him I hoped he would see his family again soon, that the fight would end and we could all go home. Here, when the day was about to end, that time, all the food, all the drinks, it came to end. Everything was over. Now it was a time for both the groups to go back to their respective trenches again. And while leaving to their trenches, Jim wished Hans Wolf well, and he even wished and hoped that Hans would see his family again soon. Not only Hans, he wished all the soldiers that they could go back to their home and meet their families safely. I think that is what every soldier wants on both sides, Hansult said. Even Hansult agreed to this, to what the Jim McPherson said, that each soldier wants peace, each soldier wants to go home safely and wants the war to be end soon. Take care, Jim McPherson. I shall never forget this moment, nor you. He saluted and walked away from me slowly, unwillingly. I felt he turned to wave just once and then became one of the hundreds of grey coated men drifting back towards their trenches. Now Hanswolf wished Jim to take care and said he will never forget these moments and hoped Jim also will never forget. Lastly, he saluted Jim and walked away slowly, unwillingly. Here, the word unwillingly means something against his wish, that he didn't want it to go actually. Not only Hans Wolf, but no soldier from the both side wanted to go back to their trenches, because once they go back to their trenches, their friendship would have been end there and they would become enemies again. But they have to return because it is the call of the nation. For the last time, Hans turned and waved to the Jim, and then he became one of the 100 grey-coated soldiers who are going towards their trenches. That night, back in our dugouts, we heard them singing a carol, and singing it quite beautifully. It was Still Night, Silent Night. Our boys gave them a rousing chorus of While Shepherds Watched. We exchanged carols for a while, and then we all fell silent. We had our time of peace and goodwill, a time I will treasure as long as I live. Here, the Jim says that night after they returned to their dugouts, here the word dugout means a shelter for soldiers made by digging a hole in the ground and covering it. Here it is the same as the trenches, but this hole is covered. Okay. The Germans sang carol that night. Here the word carol is a Christmas song which people sing on at the time of the Christmas. Okay. The name of the song is Still Night or Silent Night. And the British soldiers were also joined with them to sing from their side as the shepherds watched them. After exchanging lyrics, they all fall asleep. Jim says they had their time of peace and goodwill, and he will keep this moment as memorable as treasure. Dearest Connie, by the Christmas time next year, this war will be nothing but a distant and terrible memory. I know from all that happened today how much both armies long for peace. We shall be together again soon, I am sure of it. Your loving Jim. So here Jim tells to the Connie that by the next year everything will be fine. War will be over and it will be just be a distant and terrible, that means bad memory that nobody wants to remember. In the end of his letter, Jim says that both armies want the peace, Nobody wants war. Nobody wants to kill other people and hopes they are going to be together soon. Okay, my dear students, hope you have understood the class. We will continue the rest of the chapter in one more session and the chapter will be over then. So till then, take care. Bye.